Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5-0 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis, with the Phoenix Police Public Affairs Bureau, coming to you once again from Phoenix Police Headquarters in beautiful downtown Phoenix. And I've brought back, in a strange role reversal, the old host of the show, now current fill-in co-host, Senior Public Information Officer Ryan Cody. Welcome back to your show.
Thanks for being here. It's your show. You've taken it over quite nicely, so I appreciate all the work that you do here. I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's my pleasure. So thanks for being back.
Sure.
So it is January 2025. New year, new me, new everything.
Yeah.
But same old department, because our intentions are the same. We strive to be, as the chief have said, we are on a path forward to become a self-assessing, self-correcting agency. Part of that is the road to reform,
Right.
which actually predates most of us here.
Mm-hmm.
But you become somewhat an expert in that and helping us understanding what that means. So the road to reform, let's just catch everybody up. We know that the Department of Justice had a findings report last year.
Sure. Yeah. In June 13th, 2024, the Department of Justice wrapped up their nearly three-year investigation into the city of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department, and claims constitutional violations in several areas. Those violations are certainly disputable in certain ways, depending on who you talk to. That's really neither here nor there from the Phoenix Police Department's standpoint, because we have been and are striving to become a self-assessing, self-correcting agency and making many changes throughout the years, long before, as you mentioned, my time here at the Phoenix Police Department. And that's been outlined in a document called The Road to Reform, which is a report that the police department, through our third-party lawyers, were able to draft and put out over a year ago at this point, 1 year ago, in mid-January in 2024. We put that out. It's a 52-page document that outlines all of the things that we have done and what we are planning to do, even providing timelines and in when these things are set to happen. Furthermore, what we have done is the police chief, interim chief Michael Sullivan, and the city manager's office, and we have committed to updating city council on a every 3-month basis to what we've done, what we're planning to do, and what the future looks like, and even provide timelines for those things. So we made a presentation in September where those improvement plans were adopted officially by City Council, and then again in December to give them an update, and then again, as I said, every 3-month cadence from there on out. So you can find those things on our website, phoenix.gov/DOJ, also on our YouTube page at the City of Phoenix, where you actually can see those City Council meetings as they were live in real time, to see those presentations. So anyone who's really interested in that, I would encourage you to check those links out.
And I remember the development of that page, and when that launch happened, it was great because the transparency really helps put it all out there, and that's what we're also striving to do. Is you had to construe a lot of things, you had to make assumptions, but not necessarily assumptions, but educated research into where these allegations were coming from and to what they were referring. But in doing so, you were able to identify real life cases. And not only that, you took it a step further with a huge data dump of incidents, video, police reports, information. All of that went into the page.
Yes, so that was the first thing. We jumped right on that project the day after the report came out. And the first thing that we did was we reached out to DOJ to ask, hey, can you give us a little more information on all of the incidents that you reference? If you read the report, you'll notice there's no dates, there's no times, there's no, sometimes officers' names are involved, but those are when they were out in the media already. So it was really difficult, out of over 1 million calls per year, to be able to say definitively what you're referencing here is what we're talking about. Over a 6-year period, 1 million calls per year, more than that. It's more like 1.8 million calls per year. So to be able to pick that out is like a needle in a haystack, but we did it. And we have a team in the Continuous Improvement Unit that used all of our resources, whether it be our archives and all of our data, reports and whatnot that we can search. We identified, we figured out there were about 130 or so incidents referenced in the report. We identified about 120 of them. And the ones that we didn't identify, we think we might have a decent idea, but if we're not 100% sure, we're not going to say that's what you were referencing there. And then we released a website that lists all of them and provides any relevant data that we can provide at the time. And like you mentioned, body-worn camera, reports, PSB investigations.
Which is our internal affairs, the Professional Standards Bureau.
Correct. So if one of those incidents had risen to the level of needing to be investigated by our Professional Standards Bureau, there would have been a report released by that bureau. That's on the website. So you want to see it, you want to read what happened. And I'm not just talking about from our folks. I'm talking about PSB. They do thorough investigations. They reach out to the folks, the complainants, the victims, the everybody that's involved, and you have their quotes and the outcomes of those things. So this is what we feel is transparency at its finest. And so I feel like it was a major undertaking, but it was not only necessary. I feel like people deserve that.
Yeah, we want to be the department that the community not only deserves but asks for, and we do that with an interaction between us and the community. And there are opportunities for the community to interact and really, in effect, have a say in things like policy, training, that kind of thing. Is that true?
100%, and that is a commitment that we are making. Anytime we're making substantial policy changes here at the Phoenix Police Department, we're putting it out to the public for at least a 30-day period to provide feedback that you can read the policy, you can even write notes and say, like, I don't agree with this, I agree with that. And then what we do is we have a team that compiles all of that feedback at the end of that 30-day period and actually makes changes. I mean, we have seen many comments come from the public, come from the Department of Justice when we're talking about our use of force policy in particular, from community groups. The feedback that we get have actually turned into changes in the policy. And once that draft policy comes back with the feedback, our team will make those changes, and then we will implement that policy. And talking about our 1.5, our use of force policy, that policy went through that same procedure we were talking about. We have since trained the entire department on that, all sworn personnel. And the hope and the plan is to have that go live again here in the next couple of weeks at the beginning of February.
So if anybody wants to, they can go to phoenix.gov/police. They can look at what's called our operations orders. Now, that's all of the documents, our rules and regulations. And I remember when I started, it was 2 big binders, operations orders and general orders that were combined, and everything was in there. Everything that we did, the whole manual about how we police and everything was a part of that. And then I became a training instructor and learned how to teach what we call defensive tactics. It's basically the hands-on part of interacting with the community, literally putting hands on.
It's necessary sometimes.
Yeah. What I remember is over time, there's an evolution, especially with the introduction of compassionate restraint and a lot of different things that we now know that we can still accomplish our mission and not and reduce the injuries to not only the community that we're trying to interact with, but reduce injuries to officers as well. Reducing the injuries, mainly to the community is really what we've learned how to do better. And that it was part of so if you go to the operations orders, you look at chapter 1 and it's 1.5, you'll see our use of force policy. And that's where we had all the input in the evolution, right?
Yeah, and it used to be called response to resistance, I believe. Now it's squarely use of force. And yeah, that is where you will see things, give specific examples of when to use certain force, when it is acceptable to use certain force. And then also we're developing the discipline matrix for when you do not properly adhere to this policy, which happens. Certainly, I mean, no situation is perfect. So we feel like that is important as well, to clearly define. A lot of these things have already been in place, but now they are clearly defined in writing. So there's more accountability to be had.
I think the expansion in how we take it, or the evolution of how we take a look at a lot of these incidents where force is applied, there is an extra added layer now, or a lens or a filter that we look through as supervisors, because oftentimes when too much force is applied, it's not coming from a place of corruption. It's not coming from a place of ill intent. These officers are not crossing the line on purpose to impose their will. Sometimes, and when we see this in sports, and we see this in many parts of life, where too much force is applied, is it intentional or is it a training issue that we can take another look at and see, is there a layer in between?
Yeah, and there's always that gray area too of we're human beings. What was that officer dealing with right before they came on their shift? Not that should matter, when it comes to black and white policy, but these are things that need to be considered.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of officers who, the overwhelming majority of officers that are out there want to do right. And
100%.
we see that. Not only that, but you get to see this in a special way because you are also part of the recruiting team. And you take a look, and you've heard the stories when we bring in new recruits, even though we've gone through a lot through 2020 and the years to follow, all of this scrutinization of law enforcement in our department, they're not slowing down, are they?
We're actually speeding up in our recruitment efforts, and we need to. It's a national issue. Police hiring has gone way down in really since prior to the pandemic. But the pandemic really put a halt on that. As a lot of people want to work from home, and the shift in that way. Policing is not a job you can do from your house. So that certainly is something that we've dealt with. And then, we feel like the pendulum might be swinging a little bit, in terms of how people feel about law enforcement, and that's helping. We've done some things in the recruiting unit to make it a little easier. It's a hard process to get hired by the department, but I'm happy to report. I have these numbers in front of me. We normally average just under 300 applicants a month in the Phoenix Police Department. October, we had 380, November, 294, and in December, we had 428 applicants. Wow. So we put together 3 consecutive academy classes that are nearing 30, which is great. Now, compare that to probably when you went through the academy, there was like 50 people in those classes, but that was a regional academy. This is just Phoenix now. So we're proud of that, but we need to do better because our attrition numbers aren't great either. There's a lot of folks who are ready to retire. They're retirement age and they're leaving. So we need to be able to fill those spots, and more so because we're also down about 600 officers. So it's a daunting task, but we're up for the challenge, and we have to be, because the future of safety in the city of Phoenix depends on having women and men like yourself who are willing to put on the badge and the uniform and do the work. We need that, and we're super appreciative of it.
So we're coming up at the end, but really quickly, just give me an idea of who we're looking for.
People who want to serve. I mean, it really is that simple, and it sounds cliche, but if you show up to work every day and you care about this city and you care about the people that live in it and the future of it, the other stuff will fall into place. We can get into the nitty-gritty of like this detail and you should be this way and this way. If you want to serve...
Not that we're lacking opportunities.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I'll get in front of the camera anytime you want and talk about this, but we want people who just want to do the right thing and make this a better place to live. All the other stuff will take care of itself if you have a heart for service.
And there's a myriad of opportunities. There's a ton of specialty details and specifics and training, and so you get your life skills. We'll get you set up to really make a difference in your community.
And you make good money, too. I want to throw that out there.
There's that.
Yeah.
Ryan Cody, thank you for coming back on the show. We appreciate that information. There's more of that information that's probably available not only at phoenix.gov/police, but you can go to joinphxpd.com. We are hiring. Check it out. Find out all the wonderful opportunities you have to make a difference in your community. And I want to remind everybody that you can help solve crime in your community and potentially earn a cash reward by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org and call 480-WITNESS. Visit us and follow us on all social media platforms. Once again, I'm going to plug that spot because we are hiring. Go to joinphxpd.com. And remember, we're all in this together.